Hello. My job as an independent treasurer for hire takes me to many places in the world. I help companies figure out where to get the money to keep the businesses going and how to earn an interest on their cash. On one such occasion, I worked with a king in a faraway land who needed my help to sort out the finances of his complex business enterprise when he came back from a long overseas trip. Now, as I was in the king's room, plugging away the numbers on my laptop, I came across a very unusual entry that a staffer of the king owed him 10,000 talents, and all of it came due on that same day. A talent in this country is the amount of gold weighing roughly the same as a person. So 10,000 talents would work out to be about $50 billion US. How did this staffer owe so much to the king? Now, how could the king be so nice, so trusting, so stupid to lend this amount of money to anyone, much less to someone with no social standing, no rich relatives, no valuables to guarantee the debt? Surely the king was a trusting person who expected his employees to be good and faithful in managing their finances. But apparently, this staffer was not one of them because on this day, he had nothing to show for it. Now, in this country, the punishment for unpaid debt is the sale of the person, his wife, and children, and all of his possessions as payment. So the king ordered the guards to round up the staffer and his family to auction them off. Now, as he was brought before the king, the staffer threw him on the ground and pleaded, "Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything." He was asking mercy. He was asking for mercy from someone whose trust he just abused to the tune of $50 billion. And he was begging for more time, as though more time will help him pay off this amount of debt. But nothing in his plea showed any sign of remorse or admission of wrongdoing. The king said, "Say no more, my friend. I will release you and your wife and your children. And what's more, since you can never pay me back, I will release you of the debt altogether. Now go and be good steward of your finances in the future." I was stunned and speechless. I wanted to remind the king that forgiving the staffer means that he has to shoulder this $50 billion of loss himself. And I wanted to tell him that he could forgive him, but at least keep him on as a household servant for dishonoring the king and for breaking a contract. Or let him take the extra time and come back and beg for more time. But what could I have done? I'm a professional treasurer for hire. I had no skin in it. I had no say. So silently, I transferred that $50 billion of the king's personal assets to the staffer's column with a note, "Paid in full." Now, I needed a drink to calm down my senses. So I went to a neighborhood pub and ordered myself a drink. And as I was just mulling over the whole episode in my head, this staffer came in. And his eyes immediately fell on an old fella who was busy working the tables, cleaning up the surface, and removing the dirty dishes. Now, he seized him and began to shout and choke him and kept saying, "Pay what you owe, or I will throw you in jail." "Who is this poor fellow?" I asked quietly. And someone said, "And that's his childhood friend, that one who brought him to the city, to the king's court." The friend just knelt before him and pleaded, "Have patience with me, and I will pay you." It was remarkable that the plea was almost word for word as his friend pleaded to the king just a few moments earlier. Now, how much does he owe? I asked. 100 denarii, someone answered. Now, that's about 10,000 US dollars. And it is a lot of money for a poor fellow, but nothing compared to the $50 billion that was just forgiven to the staffer. Now, why would he not show the same mercy on his friend when he was forgiven a much, much bigger amount of debt? And then why would he want to lock his friend up when he could have let him work to pay him back? It just made no sense. Then it came to me, and before me was this someone who thought he was entitled to everything. You know, he deserved trust and generosity from the king, and his debt deserved to be forgiven, and he deserved to be in control. And he was probably angry because he was humiliated before the king a moment earlier, and he had to beg for forgiveness. And so he wanted to take revenge on someone. He didn't really care about the $10,000. He wanted blood, and he got it by sending his friend to jail. Everyone at the scene shared the same disgust with what we saw. So we went and told the king, and the king ordered the guards to fetch him. When he was brought before the king the second time, he was scared. He was anxious because he knew the king was not going to be as kind as the first time. "You wicked servant," the king said, "I forgave you all the debt because you pleaded with me. Now, why should you not have mercy on your friend as I had mercy on you?" So he ordered the staffer jailed until he could pay back all the debt, which is, of course, never in his lifetime. So this experience taught me that when someone is forgiven an enormous amount of debt but does not extend it to others, there is wickedness in that person. It means that they never really accepted the forgiveness. And maybe I had some of that in me, that I took everything in life for granted, that I deserve all the praises and hospitality around me, the safety and health on my extensive travels, my wife's patience and understanding when I did stupid things or said hurtful words. And it also occurred to me that sin is a staggering debt that we owe God that we could never repay. But God forgave us with his own blood. So should we not forgive the offenses committed against us by our friends, which pale in comparison to the forgiveness extended to us? Forgiven people forgive. And forgiveness is an attitude not measured in hours or dollars, but in sincerity and repentance. Forgiven people forgive. Thank you.